without further ado, our keynote speaker today has been speaking professionally for over 10 years. Hoan's practical strategies have positively impacted over 250,000 professionals and students. Hoan is the recipient of the Verizon Wireless Motivator Award, the acclaimed author of Succeeding in the Real World, and a city finalist in NBC's hit show American Ninja Warrior. In addition to speaking, Hoan enjoys constantly being mistaken for a college student, recognized as the best youth mentor by the International Examiner. Please put your hands together, make some noise, and help me welcome Hoan Do.
Hoan, you're on mute.
Hola, ¿cómo estás, amigos, amigas? Me llamo Hoan Do, like Juan Carlos, but spelt a little differently. I'm honored and excited to be with you this evening. Out of curiosity, by a show of hands, how many of you attended our very first event a couple months back? You raise your virtual hands or your physical hands. Great. I see Lorena, Erjola, Sally. I see you. Fantastic. Camilla. Great. How many guys that did join us actually watched the in-demand video? If you didn't watch it, it's okay. But how many guys watched the replay? Anybody? Okay, no need to be shy about it. It's all good. Lastly, is how many of you, is this your first time ever seeing me? Please virtually raise your hand or physically raise your hand. Great. Whether we were together the very first time or this is our first time together, I'm honored, excited you chose to be here this evening. It means a lot because being a first generation student, it's a big deal because it's a huge step for an entire family, not just the individual. So by you being here, whether you are a student or part of a family, it's important that you're here. And we honor that because, dude, it's 7 o'clock at different times on the East Coast. Some of you might be in Central Time. It's late and it's a Friday night. You can do a lot of other things, but you decide to come here with us today. So I want to make sure we make the best use of our time. So what's going to happen is this. We're kind of juggling different technologies, but I'll be sharing my screen where I have a slide where it will also be in Spanish as well. So we want to make sure we cater to everyone. So I want you to understand is that you hopefully can know that we're trying to clear all the barriers so that we can connect with one another. So we want to know that you're supported. If you could just let me know in the chat box that you can see your screen and that you can see the Spanish subtitles at the bottom. If you're on video, just give me 2 thumbs up like this. If you're not on video, please go ahead and type in the chat box. Awesome, fantastic. Now, here's the key thing within our time together. It's really simple. I want to share with you practical advice that will help you as a student and as a family member to succeed. So in our time together, this is how it's going to look in a moment. Is I'm going to share with you kind of a quick recap of what we talked about earlier on in our first meeting, things that will help you and your family. Secondly, is I want to share with you just practical advice that will help you to better understand one another. And then lastly is for you to create an action plan so that you can succeed not only individually, but as a family as a whole. Now, before we begin, I want to be upfront by saying, I'm not here to pretend like I have all the answers. Plus you're thinking, who is this guy? So let me just share with you a little context of who I am with the hopes I can give you an idea of what I'm about. More importantly is that what unique experiences I've been through that can really support in your lives. See, for me, I come from a family that escaped after the Vietnam War is over. This is a picture of my family and I after against the United States. My dad fought in the Vietnam War. When the war is over, he was locked away for 4 years in a re-education camp. And what had happened was he befriended the prison guards. He would make them like paintings or he'd carve out spoons for their significant others. What happened, he's developed that trust, that friendship with these guards, so they would let him into the small town every once in a while to get tea or to get coffee. And what eventually happened was that one of my dad's friends got out of re-education camp early. He communicated to my mother what had happened and how he gets out in the city. And they had coordinated for a time when he went into town for her to pick him up in her motorcycle. And then they fled down south. And then from there, they got all their belongings and then they fled on boat to the United States. While coming on boat, they were captured by Thai sea pirates. Unfortunately, they were intercepted by a United States ship, which then rescued them and brought them to the United States. I grew up in an area in the United States, in Washington State, what was considered at the time one of the top 3 most dangerous cities in the entire country. So as immigrants, we didn't have a lot of money, but we did have a lot of love. And so my parents made a lot of sacrifices for me, which I'm eternally grateful for. So growing up as a kid, I just wanted to succeed so I could make my parents proud. And going through high school, I did well in school. I got scholarships to go to college. And I eventually went to Pepperdine University down in Malibu, California. And as I went through that experience, I had this idea, this vision is that I kept struggling in school. My parents and I, we didn't always get along because we always would misunderstand each other. I'm not sure if you had that experience before or not, but for me, I wanted to pursue my own passions and goals. My parents had a different definition of success, so it was not an easy process. But eventually, after I graduated from college, I worked as a speaker when I traveled around the country. And in 2009, I wrote my first book called Succeeding in the Real World, What School Won't Teach You. And for the last 10 years, I travel all across the country where I share practical advice that will help students to succeed in school, but in their lives afterwards. And since COVID-19 has happened, I'm sure all of you, please let me know in the chat box, is that how many of you guys have had your fair share of challenges in 2020? I know for me, it was adjusting to life virtually, being in the same place. My wife, sometimes she's at home or I'm at home working in the same space or learning a new technology. It hasn't been easy, but we've been committed to how to serve people in this virtual setting. So for me, doing this for over 10 years, going through these challenges from not having tons of money, challenges with my parents, is I just want to share with you my experience with the hopes that I can support you as a parent or you as a student. Because one of the things I'm passionate about during our time together is that I've been to so many events, whether it's at a church, at a school, to bridge that gap between a family and the student, because there's a lot of misunderstanding that can happen. There can be a lot of communication breakdowns. And I've just learned through my experiences what has worked with my parents and I to have the relationships that we have today. So that's the practical advice that I want to share with you guys. And secondly is I want you to know, despite being in front of a computer screen, is that I want you to know we're in this together, is I'm not just here to have a lecture to you, because it's not fun for someone just to talk at you. Think of me more as a friend, like a funny, cool, confident, amazingly good looking, and humble friend that's just here to have a conversation. But to have a conversation, you need at least how many people? Let me know in the chat box, how many people do we need to have a conversation? Right? Lorraine, I see you're putting up 2. Yep. Lauren 2. Erjola 2. Alora, thank you. Yeah, you need at least 2 people. So there'll be times I might ask you questions. There'll be times, if I do ask questions, I might ask you to unmute. And I want you to engage, and feel free to unmute and shout out an answer. There'll be times I might ask you to engage physically. Why? Because if you just sit here and just stare at the screen, it's not going to be that exciting and you're going to be tired. So I might ask you to raise your hand and move around. And the purpose of that is for us to have an engaged conversation. I know, again, that you're spending your Friday evening here and you could be doing a lot of other things. And I figured if you are spending your time choosing to be here, is why not have fun? Why not gain the most from our time together? And by doing so, time will fly by. So if you can all do me a favor, again, if you have video access, please do me a favor, turn on your videos. You want to see each other. I promise you, you'll take more away. We'll have a lot more fun. If you're not able to turn on video, it's okay. I want to know you're part of this conversation as well, because you can still engage in the chat box. What I'd like to do here is this. If you're up for making this less of me talking at you, but more of us having this conversation back and forth together, do me a favor. I want you, if you're on video, put both hands out like this. And everybody, if you're not on video, take off your audio so that your audio's on. And I want you to motion at me like this. And I want you to say out loud, Juan.
Juan.
Let's have a conversation.
Let's have a conversation.
Awesome. Can't believe you guys did that, but it's all good. Thank you for participating. Do me a quick favor. Go to gallery view real quick. Go to gallery so you can see everyone on the screen, right? So you can see Julie, so you can see Akshimi, you can see Fifi, right? Everyone do me a favor, put both hands out like this. And I want you to give everyone a high five to the side, left and right of you. Awesome, very good, fantastic. All right, so here's the thing. Give me an idea is how many, again, did not attend our first event? Show of hands so I can get an idea. Okay, perfect, fine. So I just want to give a quick recap, And for those who did attend the first event, hopefully this can be a refresher so you can reflect, wait a minute, am I applying the things that I'm sharing before we get into the content about this communication, how we can bridge this gap. So in our last time together, let me ask this. For those who attended, enter in the chat box if what you remember from our previous conversation. Let me know that. How about you guys help teach everyone else? What did we discuss? If you remember anything, just type it down. Sally, I see you. So I'm hoping that you know some stuff. I know Camilla, Samantha was there. Samantha took tons of notes. But what are some things that we discussed? Don't worry, I'll help you out if you don't know. There's 3 things that we discussed, and I want to share with you here in a moment. The first thing is we talk about having an honest attitude, right? And as I share about that is what that means is if you're going through a tough time, you always acknowledge how you feel. And I want to do something unique so we can get better know each other is this would like to happen. I want all of you to do me a quick favor. If you could, you're going to right click on your image or you're going to click on participants and you're going to change your name. So let me share with you in a moment so you can have a visual here. Is I want you to, in a moment, to change your name so that we can get to know a little idea of what's going through your mind. So as you can see here, it's called the rename introduction. And what I'd like you to do is if you go to participants, you'll see here that you can change your name. And as you change your name, I simply want you to change your first name. You just enter your first name. You're going to share where you're attending this virtual event from, right? So whether you're locally in Colorado or you're at different places. And lastly, it's just one word that describes how you feel in this virtual world that we're living in, right? So again, you can just type and click participants, you find your name and click rename, and that's how you change it. So again, you can do your first name, where you're attending our time from, and then lastly, how you feel. Fantastic. I know Sam from Denver, reflective. All right, perfect. So this is what I'd like to do before we kind of jump even further into content. And if you're having challenges, it's okay. You can we're going to have everyone just kind of share. And the reason why is because we are an intimate group here. And my hope is by the time you're going to notice that we are going to have a better connection and that you'll also realize it's possible to make meaningful connections in this virtual world we're living in. So after you change your name, where you're from, and that one word, I like you to introduce yourself. So everyone will go. So you will eventually be called on. So your choice to go now or later. But if you'd like to share, I like you to simply physically raise your hand and I'd call on you and you'll unmute yourself and then you'll go. If you don't have video, you'll simply raise your virtual hand. I'll call on you. So I'll start first to show you what this is going to look like. So again, my name is Hoan Doe. I'm coming here from sunny Seattle, Washington, and for real, it is sunny here. This is the crazy thing is when I say I'm from sunny Seattle, people always say, no, it rains all the time. We still get sun and it's beginning of November, and we get sun from May to November. So I let people believe that it rains all the time because that's how we keep the tourists away. So Hoan from sunny Seattle. And for me personally, I just feel very like opportunistic, very just the idea of that, you know, a lot of good can come from this. I know it can be challenging at times. I've had my fair shares, but I feel very optimistic. So who would like to go next? Simply raise your physical hand or raise your virtual hand. Again, everyone's going to eventually going to go. So you can choose now or later. Sally, and then we're going to go with Alicia afterwards. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Sally.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Hello, everyone. My name is Sally. I'm from Denver, Colorado. I couldn't find a word to describe what I'm feeling, but I said, like I have more back problems now with COVID because I'm slouching at the desk. So.
Gotcha. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you, Sally. Alicia, go ahead. Unmute yourself. Oh, we can't hear you right now. This is what we can do. Yeah, we can't hear you right now. Anyone can hear, right? Right. So we'll get back to you. Who'd like to go next? Alora?
I'll go. My name's Allura. I live in Centennial, Colorado. My first word that I put down was busy. I feel like I'm on all the time, but also I've been very focused on myself, and I feel like I'm becoming the best version of myself right now through all the busyness.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Who'd like to go next? Raise your virtual hand or physical hand. Eventually, you're going to be gone, so you can volunteer or be voluntold. Your choice.
I can go.
Okay, go ahead and go with Sam, and then we'll have Camilla afterwards.
Okay, so I'm Sam. I live in Denver and I'm in my house right now. And I put a few words because I couldn't decide on one. And I sort of forgot what they were, but I think that they were reflective, stressed, and something else. But I feel like being home a lot has allowed me to really think more in depth about my life and things that are important to me. Oh, and refocused because I've been reflective.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Camilla.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Camellia. I am currently in Thornton, Colorado. So kind of Denver, but kind of not. And I chose a word, but I kind of want to steal Sam's in reflective because I've done a lot of that this time. But the word that I chose was isolated because I'm very much of an extrovert, and so I miss my friends, miss all of you all. So I'm feeling a little bit isolated.
Thank you for sharing. Brittany, I saw your virtual hand. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Brittany. I'm Lorena's daughter. I'm in San Antonio, Texas. And I put for my word engulfed. I feel engulfed with everything going on in the world. So there's really not one particular subject to focus on.
Yeah, awesome, Brittany. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Go ahead, unmute yourself, Lakshmi.
Hi, my name is Lakshmi. I'm currently right now in Denver. A word that I put was sleepy. I just feel sleepy all the time because I wake up. I have like a really bad sleeping schedule already, so it's like I go to sleep one time, but then I wake up another, and it's like it fluctuates, which is bad and good at the same time, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate it. Who'd like to go next? Lorena, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Sorry, I'm a little teary here. I miss my daughter. So my name is Lorena Gardino, and I am checking in from Lakewood, Colorado. And I go by, my favorite word is promise. I go by Denver Promise. There's a lot of reasons for that. One of them being I promise myself to be the best person that I can possibly be and shine to others. That's what's been instilled from my parents, and I try and shine to my children and grandchildren. And the word that I put was excited because I just found out that I'm going to graduate early. So I'm going to be graduating in May. So I'm super excited, and just for all the possibilities, even during these times, we make the best that we can do with what our circumstances have right now. But it doesn't need to stop. You might go a little small, a little slower, but the strides are there. So I'm super excited, and I miss you, daughter.
Congratulations. We're so excited for you, and it's so beautiful for your daughter to be on and for you to share. So thank you for that. Who'd like to go next? Awesome. Julie, go ahead and unmute yourself. Gotcha. Thank you, Julie, for sharing. Who would like to go next? Alicia, we'll see if your volume works. Go ahead.
All right. Can you hear me now or no?
Awesome.
All right, cool.
Thumbs up.
All right. My name is Alicia, and I'm from Brighton, Colorado. And I would say I put tired just because I'm feeling a little burnt out from being on the computer all day long. But for the most part, I'm still just making the best of it.
Yeah. Anyone else feeling burnt out? Show of hands, virtual hands, right? We can all relate. Thank you for sharing. Marina, I saw your hand a while ago. Go and unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Marina. I'm laying down. I am originally from Gabon, Central Africa, and I moved to Denver when I was about 10, 11 years old. I would say my word would be tired because I am tired. I work 2 jobs and school at the same time. I went to my other job today and I'm at second job right now.
Wow. And
So
you're still
yeah.
joining us. So thank you. Wow. Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Hearts from Brittany. Thank you for that. Who'd like to go next?
I can go next.
Awesome. Go ahead, Tisha.
I'm Tisha. I'm in Denver in my living room / office / dining room table. I'm tired of being online because it's like 10 to 13 hours a day, depending on if I have class or not. And so kind of over it, but it's better than nothing. And working from home has also allowed me the opportunity to be more in control of my stress environment. And I really appreciate that because I can enjoy my job and my life in ways that it was difficult to do before. And I really appreciate being able to enjoy little things these days.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Who'd like to go next? Lauren, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, all. I'm Lauren. I am coming from Littleton, Colorado, and like Tisha, my dining room table, my living room, my office. And I'm also tired, but enjoying the small things like getting to walk my dog at lunch. So that's been really cool.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Who'd like to share next?
I can go. Hi everyone, my name is Tweevy. Sorry, I had to like change rooms. So the word I chose was savvy. That was just the first word that came to my mind because I get really excited about technology and exploring and learning new things about like Zoom and all these different platforms that we now have to use since we're online. And I also wanted to add flexible, like it's really cool kind of to learn all these things. And although, you know, it gets challenging sometimes, I think in those spaces, it's like an opportunity for me to learn and for growth. And so, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Tweety. Awesome. Albino, I see you, my friend. Feel free to unmute yourself.
My name is Albino. I'm from Brighton, Colorado, and the word I chose was stress, just because sometimes I can feel like overwhelmed with all the work since we're doing everything from home. So sometimes I just get really like stressed out, and so that's the word I chose.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that, Albino. Appreciate it much. Now we have a couple more people. Fifi, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Fifi, and I'm from Colorado, Westminster. And the word I chose was challenge. And the reason I say challenge is because I'm learning all these technical things, and that's all new for me. So.
Yeah, thank you. And then who's that little person that was with you earlier on?
That's my nephew.
Awesome. Cool. Well, tell him that he's more welcome to join us back. Hi. Oh, so cute. Awesome. Who else has not shared but would like to share? So you don't have to share. I just want to give you the space to share if you'd like to introduce yourself. Otherwise, we will progress and move on.
Hi, everyone. I can go. I'm Yona. I'm from, well, not from Denver, but I'm living in Denver now. And my word is fatigue. Just what, echoing what everyone else is saying, your Zoom fatigue, low energy, fatigue from staying up late, watching the election results. So yeah, fatigue.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Yona. Eric, we have you next. Go and unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Eric. I'm in Aurora, Colorado. And I said isolated. It's very similar to what Camelia was saying. I can't do a lot of the social things that I really get a lot of energy from right now. My inner extrovert is hurting. So yeah, that's what I'm at.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. And anyone else want to share? I know Robin Lopez, you can share if you want, or if you're not, your choice. I know we have just a few people left. Anyone else?
Robin is my other daughter, so I want to say hi to her too. Love you.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, this is a family affair. I love it.
I'm so happy.
Very cool. Awesome. So if no one else will share, we're going to move on. So thank you everyone for sharing. And the reason why I asked this is one, we can better get to know one another. But two is that one word that described how you feel, whether it's a pleasant feeling or not pleasant feeling, I want you to know it's not right or wrong. So in our first session, a couple months back, we talked about having an honest attitude. Everyone talks about, you got to be positive. And I've learned being positive is easier said than done. So the key is to have an honest attitude. And what that means is when things happen in life, number one, you always acknowledge how you feel, right? So if you feel overwhelmed, you feel stressed, it's okay. If you feel excited, if you feel creative, that's okay too. What's important is you acknowledge how you feel, not ignore how you feel. We're all like soda cans. Life shakes us up. Whether, I know early on I shared about the election, knowing those results, maybe it's dealing with all these changes and learning this technology. Whatever it is, make sure you always acknowledge how you feel, not ignore it, because like that soda can, if you keep shaking it up, eventually when you open it, what happens? Everybody help me out. Motion with your hands. It explodes. And unfortunately, that's what happens to many people. So make sure you acknowledge how you feel in healthy ways, right? Exercise, listening to music, talking to a caring friend, connecting with a parent, a staff member, whatever it is, find healthy ways to acknowledge how you feel. Afterwards, you gain perspective, meaning create a community, right? First Gen Week happened this week, amazing events, but there's other amazing events that's happening virtually at your guys' university. And so make sure you find a way to be connected, because for those who share like, oh, I'm feeling kind of isolated, right? Eric, you shared that, Camilla shared that. That's why it's even more important to connect with people. I know it's not the same way that we'd imagine, but I'll tell you, it's a lot better than nothing. It's so easy when life gets tough to kind of isolate in our own little world. And now living this virtual, it's so much easier to do that. And I know one of my friends, he leads one of the largest Celebrate recovery groups in the country. And one of the lessons he shared with me was that, with anything, for it to grow, for it to heal, for it to expand, it needs to be brought to the light. But anything that's in darkness, that's where it doesn't. And that's where isolation come in. So I want to encourage you, find opportunities like this to constantly stay connected with other people and be more open to what connection looks like. It may not be in person because of social distancing, but it's still possible to make meaningful connections. Lastly, is decide what you want and do something about it. Just thinking positive won't change your situation, but what will is you decide, hey, you know what? This is not ideal. I'm not doing well in this certain class. My relationship with my family or my student is not ideal. So I want to change that by doing something differently. You got to decide what you want and then take action to make it happen. Secondly, the thing we talked about is having a GPS. How many guys, by a show of hands and show of virtual hands, realize that setting goals is easy? It's achieving it that's significantly more difficult. Show of hands, show of virtual hands. Great, Alicia, Sally, see it, thank you. Albino, right. So what I realize is if you want to stack the odds in your favor, achieve your most important goals, the key is to make sure you have a GPS. And what that means is you have specific goals with a meaningful purpose and multiple strategies to achieve it. What do I mean by that? Think about if I was going to offer Starbucks on me and I say, hey, let's meet up for Starbucks. And you're like, well, Juan, which one? I said, don't worry, just type in Starbucks, Colorado. How many locations will pop up? Let me know in the chat box. A little or a lot? Help me out here. Right. A lot, right? I see 2V, right? Physically. Brittany says lots. And that's the issue, is that when we say, man, I want to do better in school, I want us to have more communication between our family. It's like saying, let's meet up at Starbucks in Colorado. It's so vague. It's going to be very difficult to get to that end destination. So whatever goals you have as an individual, as a family, make sure they are clear and specific. Then you got to know your purpose. Why is it important to you, right? Coming from a family that didn't have a lot and I had to go to college, there's a lot of things I didn't feel like doing. And I'm sure all of you have had a job that you didn't like. Is that fair to say? Yes, no, give me a nod or a thumbs up, right? And a lot of times we work at this job, and let me ask you, why did you work at this job? Let me know in the chat box. Why did you work at a job you didn't like? It doesn't even make sense, right? Why would you do that? Tell me. Money. First job, needed the money. When I ask this, the unanimous answer is always about money, but there's a reason behind that money. Where as a first-gen student, maybe you would not be going to college if you didn't have this job. For the parents out there, if you didn't work this job, your child will not be the first family to have a college education. You made this conscious decision to make the sacrifice because you wanted them to have something that you didn't, so that they would be able to excel in their life. There's a reason why, and all I'm sharing is that whatever goals are important to you this year, is make sure you ask yourself, what would it mean to me to achieve this goal? Why is it important to me? Because that is the thing that helps you wake up early when you feel tired. That's the thing that helps you stay up late at night when you say, you know what, I just want to Netflix and chill. So make sure you ask yourself, what is your purpose? And lastly, is you got to make sure you have multiple strategies to achieve your goal. So think about if you're driving a car and there's a roadblock and you can't go straight and you're forced to take a right. What will your GPS, what will your Google Maps do? Help me out. Let me know in the chat box. Right, it's going to reroute. Well, here's the mentality is you need to have the same mentality with life. If one thing doesn't work, you reroute, try something else on. If you're having a tough communication between you and your student, or the student and the parent, don't communicate that same way. You got to try something else. Keep rerouting, and eventually you'll get to your end destination. So we talked about having an honest attitude. We talked about GPS. And the last thing we talk about is to realize that life is a team sport. We're all in this together. Right? Your jersey might say Alora, might say Julie, might say Sally, might say 2V, but the front of your jersey says MSU Denver. And I want you to realize that, especially in this world we're living in now where it's virtual, it's so easy to feel like you're by yourself, and it's the farthest from the truth. People want to help, but the only way they can help is if you reach out yourself. So I want to share with you a beautiful quote by Cesar Chavez. He says, "You're never strong enough where you don't need help." And I think that's the mistake. Whether as a parent or a student, it's easy to, you know what, they don't understand. I don't need help because I don't want someone to see that I'm weak, see that I don't know how to do this. And I want you to know it's the farthest from the truth. Where I remember my senior year in university, my fourth year in college, I took this psychology class, and everyone knew it as the crying class because when you go to class, you share your emotions and everybody ends up crying afterwards. And personally for me, I had a very huge ego. I was thinking, no, I can't let people see this way. I need to save face. People can't see that I'm weak or I need help because I need to be the person that has all the answers. And what this class taught me was it's okay to be vulnerable. It doesn't show that you're weak if you ask for help. It shows you're strong because it takes courage to do that. And my hope as students, as family members, is that you realize that this is a team sport. Your success is interdependent. It feeds off one another. And that's why, this event was put on, is to share with you some strategies to help to work better as a unit. And I just want to share, these are the 3 relationships that are crucial to help you to succeed in your lives, in school, and in life in general. And I call it my 3 M's. So if you're taking notes, it's having mentors, mates, and mentees. Mentors are people that will believe in you when you stop believing in yourself. These were people who breathe life into you when you felt life was being sucked out of you. I remember when I graduated from college, my mom had called me and she shared that my older brother, who's 10 years older, was in massive gambling debt. And he had over $50,000 in gambling debts. And it was devastating to my parents because they thought, what did I do wrong? And one of the most powerful things in this process, it was like a 10-year process where I felt like our family was just being constantly just torn apart. I remember during that time, I was working as a speaker. So I traveled around the country speaking to all these companies, these community members, business professionals, giving them advice. And I was thinking, man, what a hypocrite. I felt like an imposter because I couldn't help my own brother. And when we were going to Gamblers Anonymous, we were going to Gam-Anon for my parents and me. And one of the most powerful things I learned is when things happen like this within a family, it's easy to think, what did I do wrong? And one of the lessons learned was you can't control it. You can't cure it. You didn't create it. And that was a very difficult thing for my family, because for me, I was thinking I'm an imposter because I can't help my own brother, someone I love, I can help all these other people. My parents felt they were horrible parents, but the thing is, they didn't do anything. My parents were the most unbelievable parents, role model as husband and wife. They're there to support us. There's nothing that they did wrong. And that was something they had to battle through, and something I had to battle through to try to keep everything together. And I had a mentor that said, Hoan, you got this. I'm here for you. And I knew what he was going to say. It wasn't like profound, like these are the 5 things that will help cure this. He just says, you got this, I'm here for you. But just hearing it from somebody I looked up to, someone I admired, that's what made the difference. So I would encourage you, whether you're a parent or a student, is to make sure you have mentors in your life that will be role models, that will breathe life in you when you feel that life is being sucked out of you. Secondly, is you need to have mates. These are individuals who are peers, people who get you. This is so crucial, right? As a student, I know sometimes you might feel like, man, my parents don't understand. And that's why it's important to connect with other students who are in similar situations for you to realize you're not alone. See, at the beginning, when I asked you to share one word that describes how you feel, some of you shared unpleasant emotions, and it's okay, because I've had plenty of those emotions too. And the reason why I have you share that, and the reason why we do events where people kind of share it just candidly, is for you to understand you're not alone. You're not the only one that feels isolated. You're not the only one that feels overwhelmed. So when you are able to connect with other mates or peers, it gives you perspective to realize, hey, I'm not in this by myself. There's other people that are experiencing it and other people that can support you along the process. For me, I have 3 best friends from college. And when we graduated, we made a commitment to meet up every single year. And we've done that for the last 11 years. We have a guy who's a single guy working in finance. We have a guy who's getting ready to have a second child. We have a friend who had kids right out of college at 13 and 11. And for me, I've been married for about 2 years now, no kids. We're at all different stages of life, but we have a commonality with some things where the friend that had kids right away that are 13, 11, he's a mentor for me in the idea of what to expect when kids come and what I need to do to constantly improve myself. So your mates can become mentors in different ways, or they can become mates in different ways. But the main critical thing is to make sure you have people that you can lean on. So when you attend events like this, if you hear someone share something powerful and you're like, wow, I really resonate with that, make that connection. Hey, can we stay connected via email, via social media? Family, this is crucial for you as well, to connect with other family members that understand what you're going through. So hopefully this event can serve as that springboard for you to make more meaningful connections as we kind of split up a little later on to have deeper conversations. Lastly is to have mentees. These are people that are going through something that you have overcome, or maybe you're just a little farther along. These are people that you can support and pour into yourself. This is so important because these are the individuals that when you help them, by helping them, you forget about your problems. And when you help them, you feel good. I mean, would you guys agree? Nod your heads. Let me know in the chat box. When you help other people, you feel good, right? And here's things, when you feel good, you're able to think clearer. And when you think clearer, you're able to make better decisions than when you're in that stressful state. So then you're able to clear your mind and come up with other ideas and solutions to tackle what's in front of you. So that is a quick recap of what we discussed from our very first event. We talked about having an honest attitude, always acknowledging how you feel. Nothing's right or wrong. It's choosing to make sure you deal with emotions in a healthy way. Secondly is make sure you have a GPS, specific goals, a meaningful purpose, and then multiple strategies to achieve it. And then lastly is realize we're in this together. Life's a team sport. Make sure you have mentors in your life. Make sure you have mates, peers that relate to you, and make sure that you have mentees. Now, as I recap on all that, I know there's a lot to chew on, right? For those who are there, it was a nice refresher. For those who are new, it's like, wow, that's something to chew on. Before we kind of progress into our next period of time together, I'm curious, any questions or thoughts about what I quickly recapped or shared with you guys? If you have a question, feel free to hit it up in the chat box, physically raise your hand, virtually raise your hand. Let me know what's going through your mind. Yes, Lorena, go ahead and unmute yourself.
I really like what you were saying pertaining to having those mentors and mates and mentees, because I think all of us, no matter what, in school and in life, we've had those ups and downs. It's having the good people surround you. I know my mom used to say, always surround yourself with good friends and colleagues. That way you sort of progress together, like you and your friends have throughout these years. I think that's beautiful. I think it's just helping each other step when, to hold each other up and hold each other accountable. And for future generations, you're friends with children, and in the future, I think it's awesome. And then also, it's kind of a fluke today, but I love Katharine Hepburn. And somebody had mentioned it on another Zoom meeting today. And I don't know if you can see it. It basically says, learn to make someone happy by acts of giving. And that's a quote from Katharine Hepburn. And today I put it on my desk, and it's just a remembrance of just something small. It can make somebody's whole day, So yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that share, Lorena. Thank you much. Any other questions, comments regarding what we just discussed? Awesome, very good. So this is what we're gonna do, is we're gonna transition to kind of talk about our topic of the day, which is about kind of just communication. And there's a quote I wanna share with you guys here. I wanna get the subtitles back up. And this is a quote by George Bernard Shaw. He says, the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. One thing I've been learning, especially, it's been a very passionate topic for me, especially being married now and just thinking about the future, and then just the family unit in general, where problems don't happen because we communicate too much. It often happens because we don't communicate enough. And that was what happened with my parents and I. Were growing up, when I'm a millennial, then we have Generation Z. And with my parents, our visions of success was very different. And the thing is that my family and I were very close, but it wasn't like that at the beginning, where just like for all the students here, do me a favor, go and raise your hand if you're a student. Awesome. And then for the parents, any parents or family members here, if you can raise your hand for me so I can see. All right. So here's the thing is, it's easy to think like they don't understand. That's like the easy default way. And that's what I thought too when I was younger, especially when you get to a stage of like middle school, junior high. It's like all of a sudden, like you're too cool all of a sudden. And I'm speaking about me. And I remember at that time, my parents and I didn't really talk much. I didn't want to let them know about my life because I just felt they won't understand. And the biggest friction that happened between my parents and I was just, what was I going to do with my life? I had an idea when I was a junior in high school that this was my calling. This was my purpose. What I was supposed to do with the rest of my life was to speak around the country and to help people in different ways, because at that time I saw a speaker that impacted my life. And the speaker, what they did was they helped me, but also 300 other students. And at that moment I thought, if I could do this, I can help more people in my lifetime than just to have tons of one-on-one conversations. So everything I did was very intentional in college to lead towards this path. And at first my parents are like, what are you doing? Like, we never even heard of this career path, of this profession, being a speaker. So we're concerned you need to go to school to become a doctor, or you need to study math. These are ways to make sure that you can succeed in life. And for the longest time, I just didn't get like, why don't you want me to be happy? That was my initial default. Why do you have these ideas? And what was really powerful for me was during my second year in university, I had a chance to study abroad in Florence, Italy. And at that time, I was going through a lot of stress and pressure. And eventually what happened was I procrastinated on a paper along with like 30 other students. And by the time I got to the morning time, everyone finished their paper except me. And I was just so stressed. It was like the very last thing that broke the straw, the camel's back. So it was the thing that just broke me. And I was so stressed, so overwhelmed. My head would be throbbing at night when I try to go to bed, but I'd have trouble sleeping because all I could think about was that paper that was due that I could not write. It felt like someone took a baseball bat and just slammed it to the side of my head. And it got to a point when every day I just felt this throbbing feeling in my head. I was so stressed, overwhelmed. I visited a psychologist and I thought I was going crazy. And it reached a point where I was so stressed and overwhelmed. I was walking on a bridge and I thought to myself, I can end all this pain, this stress by simply just walking off of it. And I had these suicidal thoughts because my negative self-talk in my head, my belief was that the reason why this is happening to me is because I'm not good enough. And fortunately, a caring adult reached out to me. It was a professor at my school. And he noticed something was off and he said, hey, let's grab a cup of coffee. And I shared with him, I was overwhelmed and stressed, and this is why I was feeling this way. And he shared something so powerful for me. He said, Hoan, all your parents want is for you to be happy. And I was like, no, they don't want me to be happy, because if they want me to be happy, they'd be supporting me this way. They'd help me this way. And after that conversation, though, I started seeing it differently, because sometimes you can hear the same message, but you need to hear it from a different messenger, right? One thing I've learned over these years with my parents is that they're so wise. And there's stages where, for me, I can admit where I was thinking that I know it already. And that's just me being naive in the past, thinking I know everything, versus my parents had all this life experience. But I didn't want to believe it, because what happens is they're so close to me. So sometimes you need to hear the same message from a different messenger. And sometimes also, this is a message for both a student and the family. The thing is, oftentimes your family will have a lot of just really profound wisdom, and because they've been through a lot of things. I didn't say they've been through everything, but they can share some things that you don't have to make the same mistakes. There's a saying, smart people learn from their mistakes, wise people learn from other people's mistakes. And with that being said, though, is I was talking to this friend who has 3 kids, and we're talking about the idea of patience. And he used the metaphor of a flower. Is sometimes you say something to somebody, but they don't get it because they're not ready for it. And like a flower, if you force it to open, you're going to ruin the flower. And sometimes that just happens for students. And I'm talking to the parents here, is that sometimes you do know the right answers, but they're not ready for it. And something I learned in life, especially marriage, taught me, is that whenever you try to force someone to do something, it just makes it worse, right? When you try to white knuckle it. And sometimes you got to allow things to happen. So for me, I knew these things, but because I heard it from this other professor, your parents just want you to be happy. I mean, I heard it all the time from my parents. We just want you to be happy. We want you to be successful. But I always thought, no, you don't, because if you did, you'd be supportive of me this way. And then when he said it, though, it hit me like, wow, I get it now. See, growing up, my brother, he wrestled in college, and I'm thinking, I want to wrestle, be like my brother. My mom, dad were not supportive. Like, we don't want you to hurt. I'm like, dude, what about my brother? He said, dude, he got hurt. We learned our lesson. We don't want you to get hurt. And I was thinking, why don't they want me? And again, it made sense, because they saw my brother. They try to learn from that lesson. Well, same thing with succeeding and being happy in life. For them, they didn't have a college. They didn't have the opportunity. They had a middle school and high school education. All my family members in Vietnam, they literally all live in the jungle. So I visited Vietnam twice. And the 2 times I visit, when we go there, we literally just sleep on the ground. We have a mat to cover the ground, and we sleep in the ground. But outside their house, it's literally just like dirt roads. And that's what my parents came from. My mom, she grew up, her father died when she was like 12, just because of health complications. So her older sibling raised her, and she raised her younger sibling. So those are things I didn't consider, because for me, I was in my own world. I didn't consider all the things that my parents had went through, the sacrifices they made. I just thought they just don't want me to be happy. But because of that professor, he helped me to see that my parents' definition of happiness was just different from mine. We wanted the same thing, but it's different ways to get there. So you see, for me, and a lot of Generation Z, is that, man, we want to do something we're passionate about, something that makes a difference, something that we feel just like, man, good about. And for my parents, man, they didn't have anything. So especially coming to the United States, my mom stayed at home. My dad found a job, he worked, and then eventually my mom, because of a convent, a nun helped her to get a job, just entry-level job, working at the hospital to make some extra money to kind of start a new life here. They went through all those struggles. And the thing is, my parents, and like many first-gen parents, they just don't want you to struggle like they did. And what that professor helped me to realize is that everything a parent wants, they just want you to succeed, to be happy. And a big part of it for me that really clicked in my head was that my parents want me to be happy. Well, to be happy is not to struggle like they did. And if you don't want to struggle, it's getting a good education, and getting a good education, getting a good job. And that was the key to be happy. It's just my parents and I had two different definitions. And also, I just want to share with you guys that when I went to university, I chose to go to a university out of state. And for my parents, that was very scary, especially my mom. She tried to guilt trip me. She's like, oh, who's going to fold your clothes for you? Who's going to take care of you when you're sick? Who's going to cook for you? You're going to miss this authentic Vietnamese food, right? And she used all these cards, and I was like, Mom, I just want to live my life, do this. But it was something because it was scary for her. So, I mean, think about for the students here, if you're the first one to go to college, it can be a scary thing because this is a lot of unknown things that your family's going through to try to navigate with you, right? They're there to cheer you on, but also they might be scared and nervous about certain things, because I know my parents were scared about the FAFSA form. They had no clue how it worked. So I had to go to the career counselor. I had to help bridge that gap. So understand it works both ways. And I think both parents, family, and student always have the best interests, but the key is to learn how to bridge that gap. And that conversation with that professor really changed it for me, because for me, I would say my parents just don't get it. They don't get it, so I don't want to talk about it because we end up arguing. But a powerful saying, and I want you to write this down, and I hope you take this to heart, is that whatever you resist in life will continue to persist in life. Let me say that again. If somebody do me a favor, write that in the chat box so everyone can see, is whatever you resist in life will continue to persist in life. Meaning, if you're procrastinating on a paper, students, you go Netflix, you go hang out, but the paper's still going to be there. Parents, family, if there's an argument that happens between you and a loved one and you guys don't talk about it, that feeling, that tension is still going to be there. So whatever you resist, it doesn't change it. You're just temporarily putting it off, and you're giving it space to only grow. So what I started realizing is that my parents, we wouldn't get along because I felt they were not supportive, versus for them, they were just concerned. They wanted me to succeed. So what I decided consciously to do was to lean into discomfort. And that's what I invite you to do. Whenever it's uncomfortable, lean into it. Continue to push forward, especially when it's conversations between a loved one, a family member, a friend, because what happens is when you lean into discomfort, that's when you grow. And then, so what had happened was that with my parents, whenever we talk, we get an argument, I say, hey, I totally understand. The reason why I want to pursue this path, which you feel is something that's unknown, you're scared of, is I feel I can make a difference. And the best thing you could do to support me is to cheer me on. And if it doesn't work out, I promise you, I'll go and try out your path. But I need to try out this path for me, because I just don't want to have resentment towards you. I don't want to have regret later in life, right? If I didn't go to Pepperdine, go to a different school, and I stayed in state, I would have had a resentment because my parents want me to stay nearby. With that being said, I can understand because they didn't want me to leave. But that's where it's having more communication between both sides that creates that commonality, that understanding, so that we can progress as a team moving forward to help the student and the family to succeed. So it didn't happen overnight, but I realized I can't control my parents. What I could control, though, was my effort, what I put into it. So I want to encourage you guys is to, whenever it gets uncomfortable, right, especially with tough conversations, is, continue to lean into it. Don't run away from it. Don't stop it, but continue to have those courageous conversations so that we can work through and become stronger as a unit. Now, with that being said, I want to give yourself a chance to connect with one another. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to break up into groups. I know we have about 22 of us. And again, if you could let me know in the show of hands if you are on the family side. Virtual hands this if you're in family side. All right, so if I'm not mistaken, that if you're all considered students, raise your hand for me. All right, student staff. Okay, cool. So with that being said, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna break out into 2 breakout rooms, and we're just gonna have a really candid discussion, right? We're gonna have a few questions. I'm gonna share this on the screen here, and we'll remind you. In our group together, I'm gonna share and ask you is what is the biggest challenge you feel between you and family or student? Yes, Tweety, I'll be sharing it in the chat, or Siobhan will be. I'll also sharing the screen right now. So what's the biggest challenge you feel that you're facing right now? And then number 2 is what is the one thing that your student or family can do to best support you right now, right? So those are the questions that you want. They'll be entered in the chat box, but we're gonna break out into 2 breakout rooms. And then what we're gonna do is just have a candid conversation. We're gonna give you about 5 minutes, and I like everyone to share. But if you want right now, is write down the questions, but also write down your answers so that when we go into the breakout room, then you'll have, then you can just share. And what we'll do to make it simple is we'll just go in alphabetical order, right? So person letter A will go first, and we'll go chronologically. And after 5 minutes, what's gonna happen is we're gonna come from our breakout rooms, we'll come back to the main room, and we're just gonna kind of share what we kind of took away from our conversation. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you're good, what I want to ask you is simply give me a 2 thumbs up, give me a virtual hand raise if we're good to go, and we'll just split up into 2 different groups. And then Sam, I saw your question. We will chat about it once we get back. Thank you. So Siobhan, if you can, go and send us into our rooms, and then we'll see you guys in 5 minutes.
Ellie, I wanted to tell you quick. I bought this little tabletop laptop stand, so that way I just got it today, and I'm not sitting. I thought of you, what you said, because yes, I'm tired of sitting all the time, and it makes it so I don't have to be like staring down at my computer on my table all the time. I'll send you the name. I couldn't find it if you want. Okay.
So I think I'm maybe supposed to go first because my name starts with an A, but I don't have, I don't know what my answers are yet.
That's okay.
So I am back in school after not having been in school for the last 5 or 6 years. I first went to school starting like 10 years ago. So I'm not as much in that earlier stage of my parents or family trying to navigate me being in school. I noticed a lot of older, adult learners in the group, which made me feel better because I wasn't sure. Because I feel like I'm on my own at this point, and I don't know how to say how I need my family to support me with where I'm at in my life right now. So I'll let someone else talk.
Thanks for sharing. And it's okay if you don't know, maybe we'll brainstorm together. Did they say to go in alphabetical order? I wasn't paying attention to that part. Okay. I'm gonna repost the questions in the chat for you all because I think someone requested that. And that way you can see them. And who's next? Would that be ABC? Sally?
Sally. Oh man, I guess like one of the biggest challenges that I can think of that is something between like for me and with my family is like being open, and both in the literal sense and metaphorically, like to them. Just because like I culturally speaking, we're not like ones to like, share our emotions, share like our authentic selves. It's kind of like, I don't want to say taboo, but it's in a sense, it's like, it feels like it's taboo, you're not really allowed to do so, let alone in like the metaphorical sense. It's kind of just like looked down upon. And so, trying to be open with them is like kind of a struggle bus. Yeah.
Totally get that. My mama would always be like, don't use your college words with me, like when I would try to talk to her about stuff. And it would just end up being a really frustrating conversation. A, B, C, D. Who does anyone have a D name? E, F, Fifi.
Yeah. I guess the biggest challenge, kind of going along with Sally, I guess, is just being open. I guess like my parents are like kind of like they were saying like oh, we've been through this, we know how to deal with these things. And then I'm just like, but I have a perspective too, so I guess just not feeling like I could be open. And then I guess I really don't know how they could support me. I'm still brainstorming in that way.
Yeah, that second part is like the challenge. I heard, well, never mind. I can share it when it's my turn. But I heard something that was good this week at one of our other workshops. FGHIJ, Julie. I definitely relate a lot to that, like the guilt and my family constantly being like, oh, okay, when are you going to come do this? When are you going to come do that? Lakshmi, I think you're next.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know. I feel like there's a lot of things that you guys already said that I agree with as well. I am in college and I went to college right away after high school. So it was still like, I felt like my parents were still looking at me like, oh, like a small child, I guess, because there wasn't that, there's separation still, but I had to talk to them, telling them like, hey, like there's gonna be times that I'm gonna be at school really, really late at night. And it's not because I'm crazy or like violent, it's just because I'm trying to study and like, and it's over here. I have like more resources, books, library, printer. And they had to understand that because like, and like now I couldn't like ask for help anymore. Like for my mom, I stopped asking for help when I was in elementary. My dad, well, since in high school. So it was like I was alone in a lot of the things, and I felt like they saw that. But like now I'm able to help my brother, who's actually a senior now, and he's gonna go to college. Hopefully he is. He better. But Yeah. And then the second question, how they can support me. I feel like just giving me patience, and then just being there for me.
That's good.
Mhm.
I relate a lot to what you said. Lorena, do you want to go next? Talk about your
Sure.
parents or your kids, either one.
So actually, my biggest challenges right now, when I started school, I had both of my parents, but since the past 4 years, I lost both of my parents. And I am an older student coming into school. And there's been a couple times that I wanted to, it's kind of like, I'm too old, I don't need this. But I had made a promise to them. I always keep my promises. And I'm finding where I belong in this crazy mixed up world. So I'm just pushing through. And basically, it's just honoring them by doing what was instilled in me. Just always be good and, helpful and all that. And for the continued support, that would have to come from my children. I have 4 grown children, 3 girls and 1 boy. And they know when I'm needing something, that extra push, because I'm doing this, but I actually, right next to me, I have an essay that's due tonight by midnight. So it's those little challenges, like, because I told him, don't, and another thing, that I feel honored. I don't want to boast, but my daughter, Robin, I'm not sure if she's still on here. She just recently started at CCD. So she's taking that next step, and it's really nice to see that. And then her children, my grandchildren, see that. So that's just me. So, but I appreciate all you guys' comments, and I value this time too with First Gen. So thank you guys all.
Thank you. I really appreciate you being here and sharing that. You're my goal in life.
You're gonna make me really cry. Today's been a tough day, and I honestly, from him speaking and from what I see in the chats and stuff, I wish I could seriously give you guys all a hug, because today has been a crappy day, and you guys, it's just so uplifting. So I don't want to keep anybody else's time. So
thank you for sharing. That means a lot. I'm really glad that it's been able to pick you up when you've been down. That's awesome. LMNOPQRST, Tisha. Oh, I guess I could go. I'm an S. You go and then I'll go.
I have struggled in my life getting support from my parents in the ways that I need. And I realized I'm much older than most of y'all. I'm old enough to be some of y'all's moms. But sometimes people don't know what they need to give you until you tell them. And I finally learned how to say, I need you to accept me for who I am. That's what I need from you. I need you to love me where I am right now. Literally those words. And either people do or they don't. And I'm talking parents, like my own parents. And sometimes they make the choice to not. And we all have choices to make. And all you can do is be your best self and be true to who you are always. That should be your number one priority.
Yeah.
And other people will love you and accept you for whatever that means. And so that's just a lesson I've learned recently for myself, and that I would like to share with y'all. So you're not 40 years old like me, barely able to articulate your needs to other people. But at least I did it. Better late than never.
Yeah, exactly. Go, Tisha. Yeah. I think, now that I'm not in school, it's weird because I thought that things are much better than when I was in school, because I think I had that guilt that Julie was talking about and just clashing and stuff, like what you were saying, Sally, and a little bit you, Lakshmi, I had a lot of friction between my family and I, especially my mama. And I thought it would get better after college, and it has. Like, we don't like argue as much and they don't make me feel as guilty. And a lot of it is because they see like the fruit of my labor, I guess, you know, and so they come to my house. Like, I was the first one in my family to own a house. I was the first one in my family to get a car that didn't break down every other day. I'm the first one to move out of our town. I'm the first one to do everything in my family. And I think now they finally see like the difference in the choices I've made and how it's like helped me. But it's still hard because they still have this attitude, I guess, like sometimes like, oh, Sam's like the rich one, or Sam's the smart one, or Sam's the one who thinks she's better, you know. And it doesn't come up all the time, but it's like sometimes when we like fight, you know, families do, and they just kind of like throw it in my face. And like it kind of hurts, you know, I'm not gonna lie. And so things like still come up in my life, but I I really believe in just like showing love and being an example. And at the end of the day, they're still going to come to me when they need help. and and that's also why I got my degrees, because I wanted to be able to be there for them. And so I don't know, in some ways I'm just like I'm okay with it, and that's how things are. And I don't know, slowly they'll adjust. And I kind of forgot the other part of the question, but I think it was something about what I need from my family, I think. And I think, oh man, oh, I'm gonna be so vulnerable. I don't know how much more time we have. Okay, 1 minute left. Sorry, I'm taking a lot of time. For me, it's like I just want them to be proud of me. You know, sometimes I think, and this is cultural, but my family got more excited when I got married rather than when I finished my bachelor's and my master's. And when I, you know, talk to them about doing more school, there's more excitement over me having babies than me doing more school. And it's just so much pressure. And I want them to be proud of the things that I want them to be proud of, not the things that they think I should be doing. So I think I just need them to be proud. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. That was a really good conversation.
That was really beautiful. And I'm sorry I wasn't on the whole time. I'm trying to pay attention to both rooms, but I'm hearing everything you guys are sharing. And I was also holding back tears. So it's trying to navigate a lot and emotions all at once. And so I just really appreciate all of you sharing everything. I'm going to bring us back to the room.
Okay. Thanks, Siobhan. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you.
Welcome back, guys. Fantastic. I know we have a little bit of time left. What I'd like to do is just kind of open up. We had some really great discussions in our breakout room. I have no doubt you guys had great discussions over there. Would anyone like to just kind of share just their biggest takeaway from having this conversation in your group in answering these questions? Yes, Sally, go ahead and unmute yourself. Your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, I guess like one of the sometimes like for like the solution thing, like what can you do to support, like ask your parents or like your family to support you, is that sometimes like the support that like how you mentioned earlier, the support that you're looking for isn't always going to be like what you want or like what you need. It's going to be a little bit different. But sometimes like depending on your situation, you're not ready to get, I don't know if this makes sense because my situation's a little bit different. So like it's going to come off weird when I say sometimes it's best not to get the support because you don't know how they would react in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you also have to think of yourself in the sense of your own safety and well-being. And like, I don't know, that's just something that I was like thinking a lot about. And like, as much as I would love their support, I don't know in the sense of how they would react, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate it. Who else would like to share their biggest takeaway from that combo?
When I first started, I was A, so I had to go first and I didn't have answers yet. And then I really appreciated hearing everybody. And it was really great to have mates because nobody in my family understands what I'm going through, and hearing all of the other first gen students sharing their experience and their feelings and how they feel like they could be supported made me go, oh yeah, I guess I would appreciate it if there was a little more understanding in my family and if there was a little more acceptance in my family. And I hadn't even thought about that as being something that I needed until I heard other people voice it. So
appreciate you for sharing that. Anyone else would like to share one last share? I'll say this, Twee kicked off a really great train of thought for us, where she's saying this is what my parents can do, but with that being said, this is what I can do to be better supportive for them. And I think that's a powerful question and answer that she brought up, because we can't control the other person on the other side, whether it's family member, significant other, a friend, a coworker, but what we control is how we act. And what I've learned is, what you hope to see in others, you got to first be willing to act yourself. So I think one of the most beautiful things that you can do is find out what's the best way they can support you, but also what can you do to support them? Because we're both working towards a common thing, and it's focused on your actions. So thank you for those who did share. Thank you for those who are still here. What we're going to do here is, I just want to share the last couple of thoughts and then open up to any questions with our time together. I just want to share this 3 practical things that's really been revolutionary in my life, in my marriage, and my relationship with my parents, and just people in general. And my hope is that it supports you guys. Oops, here. So 3 keys create stronger connection, right? Number 1 is make a conscious decision to have empathy. My wife and I went to this marriage retreat, and for 3 days with other couples, including my brother and his wife, we just talked about our emotions, and they had us share empathy was, again, your feelings are not right or wrong. It's how you react. That is what's considered right or wrong. And the main thing the whole weekend was, how can we learn how you feel? So they had us, it's like, whenever you choose to have empathy, this is their process, right? This is what we do, but it takes 2 to tango. But the idea is, let's say you take a heated conversation and you say, hey, when we talk about this, this makes me feel. And then you share an adjective. Oh, I feel really upset. I feel really hurt. And my hurt is like from a 1 to 10, a level 9 hurt. The other person shares their emotion. They're like at a 5. Well, whoever has the higher emotion of intensity, they get to share. And the other person makes a conscious decision to push their emotion aside for the moment and to be fully listening and present to the other person. And so we would share our emotion and we use our senses. Hey, I felt really hurt when you did this. It felt like, if I gave it a color, it'd be like a bright red color. It would be like, as if like I was the last person chose to be on the kickball team. If I could describe it in a way, that hurt feeling, it's kind of like after you stub your toe, right? They had us engage all our senses to describe, this is how it made me feel. And my point in sharing this is just the idea of having empathy. It's just, if you're trying to work with a parent, a family, whoever that important person is just making a conscious decision. I'm going to put my emotions aside to fully hear this person out. And then if you're on the same page, then they switch and have empathy for you. But it's a conscious decision, because there's times you don't feel like it, and realize when things happen, we go on an autopilot. It's like, I am upset, therefore I'm going to say this, I'm going to act this way. And that's why, again, your feeling is not right or wrong. It's okay, but it's making a conscious decision. I'm going to react differently when this thing pops up. So it's choosing to have empathy. 2 is having a willingness to have vulnerability. Again, vulnerability shows you're weak, it shows you're strong. My dad and I, we've had many times we butt heads, but because I was willing to apologize when I did something wrong, when I was willing to ask for help, when I was willing to forgive, when I was willing to lower my walls, what happened, it gave my dad the ability to feel comfortable to lower his wall, despite culturally how all this ideas of, no, I don't show emotion. But my dad and I mean, there's times he'll get all emotional and I'm like, whoa, I didn't get to see this out of my dad. But because I was willing first to be emotional and to be vulnerable, it gave him the opportunity to do that. So I encourage you to choose to be vulnerable with your parents. If you made a mistake, own up to it, right? If they did something wrong, choose to forgive. And again, if you keep on doing that, the walls will lower. And then lastly, lean into discomfort, right? Continue to have courageous conversations. You know your situation better than anyone else, but the main thing is just find out how can you just grow closer and closer to each communication, just continue pushing forward. Now, with that being said, I hope it gives you some thoughts and ideas from our time together that will help you have a better understanding, more empathy, compassion, and to grow stronger as a unit with your family, for you to succeed not only as a student, but also that you guys succeed as a family, because we all have the idea of succeeding. It's just how we get there is different ways. What I want to do is open up to any questions. Why? Because it's not about me, it's about you guys. So I like to open up to questions or thoughts regarding our time together. We talked a lot, there's a lot to digest. With that being said, I want to open up our time to any questions or thoughts, because if I never have a chance to see you again, I want to make sure that we do our best ability to best support you with whatever is on your mind or your heart. So questions, thoughts regarding our time together, things that we discussed. Yes, Gabrielle, go ahead and unmute.
Hi, I just wanted to say, like, first, like, I've already gone through school and I've gone through these experiences, but I really just wanted to say, like, thank you for, like, you and, like, the program itself. I know Alicia is one that kind of, like, helps with that, definitely, and is part of that. But I wish I would have definitely had some opportunity to chat with when I was going through this in school and going through this transition with people who, like, deal with the similar issues, you know. Unfortunately, too, like, sometimes when you go to the school, there's an underrepresentation of people of, like, you know, from, like, different parts of the world. And so sometimes, a lot of times, you feel a little bit like an outsider because everyone else is like, oh yeah, my parents went to school and, like, they knew what I had to do and I knew what I had to do as well too, but you're in there completely lost. So definitely, I think having this here, like, it's like a sense of community, sort of, where it's like, oh yeah, you're not alone. And also too, like, just to joke around sometimes, like you were saying, like, oh yeah, my mom's gonna be like, oh, you're gonna miss the good cooking, you know, what's gonna happen there to you, you know. We can all relate to that, even if, you know, like, we're of different cultures. I feel like sometimes there's a unity and there's, like, very much a similarity between people of, like, these diasporas who come to this country and have these experiences. So that's kind of my 2 cents. So I just want to say thank you to you, and I think it's a great program.
Awesome. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate the kind words. And for you, crashing the party. It's so great having you here. So thank you. Other thoughts, questions?
Yeah, thank you for speaking with our program and reaching out to everybody in First Gen Initiatives. This means a lot to me and all of us in the program, as well as our students in the program.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's definitely an honor being here. So thank you for that. Other questions, thoughts?
I do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, PV.
Sam, I'm sorry. Okay. My question, I feel like it might be a really hard question, but, like, how could I have a conversation with my parents? Well, I guess, how do you have a conversation with someone who's, like, not willing to really listen to you? You know, like, I feel like every time I try to talk to my parents, they're like, no, I'm right. Like, it's so hard for me to remove the emotions because I'm like, oh, you're hurting my feelings. You know, like, I want to share this with you. I want you to, like, see that you're hurting me, but I don't know how.
Yeah, really great question. I appreciate you sharing. And Tweeby and I, we're in the other breakout room, so she kind of shared her story with the group. Very similar in the sense with, you know, my parents and I. A couple thoughts. These are suggestions. They're not the be all end all, but think of it that the metaphor I gave earlier of the rerouting, right? If one idea doesn't work, it's all good. Try a different idea. Keep rerouting with your parents, trying different ways that eventually it'll break through. My couple immediate thoughts is this. One is maybe, I'm not sure, like, if you have, like, your relationship, or if you have uncles and aunts or, like, cousins, sometimes maybe it's not coming from you, but it's coming from another family member, right? So try to bring someone else in, because again, if all of a sudden you're like, oh, man, my mom and I don't get this, right? Because they're not a mate, they're not a peer of yours, but they talk to their peers like, oh man, my kid's this. And like, dude, I totally get what you're saying. So my suggestion and thought is sometimes, because my parents, I say they were really strict with my brother, and they loosened up with me. And with that being said, there's still things we butted heads, but then I found out is like, oh, I can connect with other family members, and they would connect my parents. And because of their relationship within the family was different from parent and child, when they spoke to my parents, it might resonate with them in a different way. Do you follow me? So if there's another caring family member, you're like, oh man, I'm just like, now my parents care for me, but it's just really frustrating. Like, hey, would you, just connect with them, right? That's just one idea. A second idea is, I don't know what type of conversations that lead to, oh, I'm right, you're wrong, is maybe going into it is like, there's a saying by Dr. Stephen Covey, let me seek first to understand, then to be understood. So maybe the next conversation, try something completely different. And rather than like trying to convince your idea, it's like, oh, I think your idea is great. Why do you want this? Try to understand the why behind it. Because then when you understand that, then you understand why they're so adamant about why I'm right or why this way, right? So that's the second thought. And then the third thought you talked about in our group is the idea of patience, where I use that flower metaphor. Your parents just don't get it now because they're so in their like world, right? And it can be scary for them. There can be a lot of emotions that you don't see, and then sometimes you just got to give it time. Because I was talking to a friend. They're talking about the idea of just like everyone wants that instant fix, that cure, but with these type of conversations, there's nothing like that to do that. It just takes time. So try a couple different things out, keep working flexing that muscle of patience, and keep focused on what you can do to improve, to love on them. And then, feel free to stay in touch and keep updated.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I quickly want to share with the group. I really liked what Hoan said in our breakout group, where if we could choose a superpower, patience would be it. Like that would be such a great superpower to have. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for sharing and asking. Other questions or thoughts regarding our time together? Cool. Well, if that's it, with that being said, what I like to do is this. If I can support you in any way, please feel free to stay in contact with me. I'm going to share with you my social media here. Let me tell you at thatiswhack.com for real. You can go to thatiswhack.com. Also, you can hit me up on my social media platforms. You can see all that fun stuff there. Also, if you guys had a great time, I want to ask you for a small favor. I was lucky enough to partner up with Lay's, the chip company. And so what happened is I'm featured on 5 different bags of chips all across the country. So this is a picture of my face. On the back of it, you can see me. Where to go? There you go. And then we're on flavor. So we're on the lemon flavor. That's in Spanish. We're on barbecue size, the big one, the small Lay's classic, and then the poppables. If you enjoyed our time together and you're active on social media, I just ask for a favor. Just talk about our time together and just tag me and tag Lay's and tag #SmileWithJuan, and we'll post it in the chat box. If you're big on Instagram, we actually have our own IG stickers and gifts. So it's like you can actually take a picture with actually one of the bags and put it in your face. So if you enjoyed our time together and you'd like to help spread the love, because this benefits Operation Smile, we give surgical care for people who have cleft conditions. So if you can give a shout out, we greatly appreciate it. Other than that, guys, I appreciate your time. Please feel free to stay in touch with me if I can support you in any way. Other than that, I'd like to pass it back to Sam for some last minute thoughts and announcements.
Thank you so much, Juan and Siobhan, for everything tonight. I loved it and I felt so inspired and motivated. And I really want to thank all the students who came tonight and the family as well, because Lorena, I know your daughters came for a little bit, so tell them thank you. But this was just so powerful and so meaningful to me. And I think having mates is so important, having community. And I think this whole week was just all about that. And it's just such a relief to have people that you can relate to and have similar stories to you, and that you just have this deep connection. And I love that. And I love that we were able to talk more about it tonight. So thank you, Juan, for highlighting what we can do to get our families to be a little bit more on our team. They are on our team, but even more on our team, and how we can talk to them about ways to support us. So thank you all so much. Happy First Gen Week. The actual First Gen Day is on the 8th. So happy First Gen Day on the 8th. And if you all want to follow us on Instagram, you can tag us, share your story as well at MSU Denver First Gen. And Camelia put in the sign-in link here, so don't forget to sign in so that you can win a prize. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody. Happy
Thank you all for
holidays.
sharing. Happy holidays.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.